Okay, so I'm going to give you on the test some equations that are in just general form. So you have to understand what shape this is by just looking at it like this. Boom, what's the shape? It is a circle. Why? Because I have the same amount of x squareds plus y squareds. Okay, changing it to standard form is this complete the square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group my x's together, my y's together, move number. Okay, so now I complete the square with a plus blank. So each one, you gotta do kind of separate. And what are you doing? Half?
Half squared.
Half squared. So 16. Half squared is 1. So now you should teeter-totter that. Okay, so then why did you do a complete the square? Because now you can write it as a perfect binomial squared. So x minus 4 doubles, so adds, multiplies, right? Same as factoring, it adds to the middle, multiplies to the end. Adds, multiplies. So, what is your center? What is your radius? That's kind of the info you need to graph. So 4, -1 is the center. Okay, so on your test, I'm going to give you a grid, but I don't have any axes on there. So 4, -1, I'm probably going to draw my axis a little bit not right in the middle. So I kind of off-centered because I knew that my x value was 4, so it's a little bit more to that way. On your test, I could probably ask you questions about domain and range. Do you need me to go over that? That would probably be on your test. Should we just do a practice one here? Okay, domain. Okay, so if this was 4 and you went down 5, this should be at a -1, right? And up 5, this should be at a 9. So do you notice how the numbers in my domain are 10 apart from each other? It's a radius of 5. These are 10 apart. And then kind of this is what I'm doing. Like if I was at a height of -1 and I went down 5, and if I went up 5, that's kind of what I was doing in my head.
On the test, do you want us to plot the points of these on the grid?
Yes, like these points?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Like with their locations of the yeah, the coordinates.
Like putting the coordinate on there?
Yeah.
No, as long as you have 1, 1, I know I can figure the coordinate out, yeah. Yeah, do you see what I did there? I did 1, 1, just to have some kind of label on there. Okay, next question. What is it when you look at it right away? It's an ellipse because there's a plus and they're different. So recognizing that. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the x's together, the y's together, move the number.
Yeah, I know. You could hit Jim.
Okay, this one has an extra step versus the last time. So the extra step on this one is that 9 has to be GCF'd out. So x squared plus 6x plus blank. Okay, complete the square only done to simple trinomials. So that's why I couldn't do that before, but now I can. But I'm using the 6, so half squared is 9, half squared. Okay, teeter-totter, what do you have to balance that side with? Don't forget that this isn't 9, it is 81. Okay, write your perfect squares. So there, that's that. And how do we make it look like an ellipse? So you need to have a 1. So to have a 1, I would need to divide each thing by 36. And then what I'm going to do here is write a 4 on the bottom. Do you see where I'm getting that from? Because there's a 9, there's a 36. I'm basically just reducing by 9, reducing by 9. Okay, we have a center, -3, 2. We're going to horizontally move out 2, and we're going to vertically move 6. Okay, I'm not drawing my axis right smack in the middle because of the -3. I'm just going to put it that way a little bit. Okay, so the domain, if I go left by 2, this should be at a -5, and this should be at a -1. And the range, so if I was at 2 and I went down 6, -4 to 8. I also might ask you on the test this. How long is the minor and how long is the major axis? So this is the major one, it's the longer one. How long is that whole distance? 12 and then 4. So that's domain. These are 4 apart, these are 12 apart. Right? Okay, when I look at it, what is the shape? It's a hyperbola because there's one plus and there's one minus. Which one is it? Everything you do, you can't just say hyperbola. You have to say what kind of hyperbola? Vertical. Because the y squared was positive. Okay, so I'm actually going to rewrite it with just the y squared first. So grouping the y's, grouping the x's, moving the number. Alright, there's my plus blank. GCF. Okay, don't forget when you balance this here, this is a minus 36 because it's the front times that number. Okay, again, the hyperbola equation is an equation that has to end with it equals 1. So I'm going to divide by 81. Okay, the center is located at 2, -1. Be careful because you have to follow x and then the y. So 2, -1. We're going to be moving up, down by 9. And we're going to have to move left and right with a 3. Oh, we might run out of page, right?
How good does our drawing?
Hopefully yours is better than mine.
It's not.
Okay, those pink lines that I drew are asymptotes. Okay, so this is the y squared being positive, so that's why we're opening up to the y's. Domain and range. This domain can do anything because those are heading left and right. The range will go into two separate things. So this part is negative infinity up to, what is the height of this? It's actually not a bad idea for me to put a coordinate here. 2, comma, would we have been at negative 10, right? So the height stops at negative 10. And this would be 2, comma. If you're at negative 1 and you go 9 up, you should be at a height of 8. So I broke it up. And then this number and this number are 18 apart from each other. Does that make sense why they're 18 apart from each other? Right? A question on your test with this could also be something to do with the asymptote equations. So the slope. So what's the slope of this asymptote? So think about from center, what did you do? How much did you rise and run? You went up 9 and over 3. Okay, so I put a plus and a minus because one should be going up diagonal and the down diagonal. So that's why you have a plus 3 slope and a minus 3 slope. Okay, and I'm going to reduce that. So if I ever write a slope to you, it's because I've reduced it. Okay, look at this equation and what is it? So it's a parabola, and the reason it's a parabola is because there's no x squareds. So which type is it if you have a y squared and no x squareds? Horizontal. Okay, change. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep that x and the number. I'm going to move the y stuff. I'm going to GCF. And then once I have my simple trinomial, that's where I complete the square. Half squared. Oh. 64. Okay, negative 3 times that means I've subtracted 192. Bless you. There we go. have it looking like the form we want. So on your test, at this point, you're going to have this available. So you can always look back. What is it supposed to look like? So there we go. Okay, our vertex is the coordinate 4, 8. And I'm going to be heading to the left because there's a -3 slope number. So what should my first move be if my slope is -3? I'm going to be doing this. Instead of 1, 1, I'm going to do 1 and then 3. Okay, 4, 8. So I'm going to draw my axes way off center here. What's my next maneuver if I do 2? 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. My next move would be 2 and then back 12. So I'm going to do that. 1, 2, up. Okay, and then other questions with that stuff could be domain and range as well, right? And if it helps, like sometimes I literally just turn my paper and then I just do like grade 11, 1 down 3, 2 down 12. Same thing, but sideways, right? What were you going to say? Wait. So that covers a lot of your steps on your test at the start. You're going to have to graph the shapes. I ask you things like domain, range, major axes, minor axes, slopes of the asymptotes. Then there'll be a section about just, I give you equations and you just have to tell me the shape. Okay, if I give you this, can you tell me the shape? And then there'll be some completing the square stuff. Then the next section on your test is going to be you having to make the equations. Okay, so what do we know? We have a hyperbola with vertices at 5, 8. And 5, 4. If we have vertices, then this is what I know. Okay, can anybody figure out what would be in the center then? Can you figure out the coordinate of the center of this? It should line up with 5, comma, and then this should be in the middle, 6. Okay, so then here's what I'm going to think about next. How much have I had to move up, down? Would we agree that you're going 2 up and 2 down? how much will I have to move side to side if my slope is 1/5? 10. Does that make sense? My slope is 1/5, but I actually went up 2, so I would have to go over 10, right? Okay, so here we go. We have to write which thing will I write first because it's positive, the y stuff or the x stuff? I need to write the y stuff first. So then -6 and -5 to get that center coordinate. And then I have my visual here. If I go up, down by 2, then this would be a 4 vertically. And if I'm going left and right 10, under the x is the horizontal 100. Okay, how many people would have not? This is the part where people skip and then they write 1 and 25 under there. That's not right. Okay, because of the info I gave you. So make sure you're going through that right there, that little part.
How do you make the lines first?
Because of the up-down direction it's opening. Yeah. If it had opened like this, then I'm doing X stuff first, positive. Okay, so we have a circle that had a domain of 1 to 9. So what x value is in the middle of that? 5, is that what you said? Which means I'm going 4 and 4 out.
But how do you know it's 5?
Because I thought about what's smack dab in the middle of a 1 and a 9. So if you want, you can add and divide by 2. Okay, then I go from -6 to 2. So what's in the middle of that? Did you pick -2? Which also means I'm heading up and down by 4, which is good because this is a circle. So what do we know? We know the center is horizontally here was 5, -2. 5 was in the middle of the x's. -2 is in the middle of the y's. And the radius was 4. So now you can do an equation. Okay, the next one is a parabola, has a vertex of -1, 8. And then it tells me the domain is this to infinity. So that's what I know about it. So the domain goes from -1 to infinity, which means it's a horizontal. So what do horizontal parabolas have? X's with y squareds or y's with x squared? Which one? There's a y squared and just an x, right? So I'm going to go x plus 1 equals y minus 8 squared. You can put anything you want there as long as it's positive. You don't have to put anything. If you don't, you're assuming the slope is 1, which will still go that way. You can have anything there if you want, as long as it's positive, right? Because if I opened the other way, you'd have to make sure that there was a negative number there, right? Okay, this is, looks like an ellipse. Okay, I'm going to write this down for myself. That's at a 9. That's at a -1. So which x value would fall in the middle of that? 4? 4 would fall in the middle. The height of this top is 2. And then what's in the middle of that? There's a -4 and a 2. What's in the middle of that one? -1? All right, here's what you need to think about next. What are you moving up and down from the center? Looks like you've done 3. And 5, right? Okay, the ellipse equation, you have a plus and equals 1. Get your center. Under the x, that's the horizontal stuff. So I wrote this here, 5 and 5 horizontally. So under the x, 25. The y is vertical, so here's my little visual. Vertically, I went 3, 3. So that's a 9. Okay, so what's the length of the major axis? So I would just do this. If this is 5, 5, that whole axis is 10. And then if this is 3, 3, this axis is 6. So also be prepared on the test if I give you the axes, right? Can you go backwards? So if I say the axis is 10, do you understand your number's 25 underneath here? How to get to that? 10, well, each distance would be 5, which makes that a 25, right? Okay, a parabola has a vertex of 6, -4, and the range is -infinity to 4. So how would you draw it if its range is like that? So this is a parabola with, which one does not have a squared? You would have it like that. So there's my 4 for the vertex, the 6 for the vertex. What do I need in front of that? You need some kind of negative number. So doesn't matter. I'm just going to go -1. You can put anything you want as long as it's negative though. Okay, I have also added some problem solving questions to your test. So what do you mean with problem solving? Here's an example. So here's an example of a problem solving question. I gave you a circle or 2 ellipses, and then you had to get the area of this triangle or something like that. Okay, so really you're just trying to find the coordinates. As long as you have these coordinates, that coordinate, you can figure out the length of each side of the triangle, right? Okay, so that's a problem solving question, so that's what kinds of things you can anticipate at the end of the test. Well, this is an extra review.
So it's on review?
It's on this one, yeah. I'm not sure, but okay. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing new. You just have to kind of do some strategy stuff, right? As well, I see that my review didn't have something like this. Do you want me to do in a question like this together, or you okay? You just complete this square. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to do this one. Okay, so this is very similar to just completing the square. So what I did, collected my x's, collected my y's, and moved the number. And now I can do some plus blanks, right? So plus 9, plus 25. Okay, so then after you balance it out, that's what you look like. And then you concentrate on this, because to get a radius of 5, all of this needs to be 25. So you just go -k plus 34 equals 25, and then solve. Okay? Does that kind of make sense?